Hello everybody, welcome to this next video on probability. So in the last few videos what we have done, we have defined sample space, we have defined probability law, and then we had discussed that we can have a discrete probability law or a continuous probability law, right? So in this video we will be just having a discussion on some properties of the probability law and also some noteworthy points we will be discussing, right? So let me talk about some properties of probability law. So I already told you that omega is your sample space. So what is the sample space? Set of all possible outcomes, right? Set of all possible outcomes, and then you had this is your omega. Then you make a set which is, we call it as power set of omega, that is set of all events. So all events are basically, events are subsets of omega. So events are subsets of sample space omega, right? So this set is having 2 raised to power cardinality of omega number of elements, right? So we already know that if a set has n elements, so if this set has n elements, then the power set of this set will have 2 raised to power n elements, right? Okay, then your probability law is from this set, okay, to 0 to 1. So it should satisfy 3 properties. If I'm saying from 0 to 1, so positivity is already there, normalization is also there, and then we just can write here that it should satisfy additivity, that is probability of A union B should be probability of A plus probability of B when A and B are disjoint. Fine. So this is your background what we have already there. So now let us also, we have seen that probability of whole set omega, that is a whole sample space, should be 1, right? So let us talk about some properties. So I can say like this, that you have, I can write like this, probability of omega as probability of omega union phi. Phi is the empty set, right? And here I can use additivity law. So to get, this is equal to probability of omega plus probability of phi. So what I get probability of omega is equal to probability of omega plus probability of phi. This and this cancels. So what I get that probability of phi, that is empty set, the probability of empty set is 0. Okay. So this and this cancel, so probability of empty set is 0. So that is understandable also, because in the empty set there is nothing. So what is the probability of happening? Nothing. So that is 0, right? Okay. So the next one is that if you have A, this is the first property I wanted to tell you. The second property is, if A is a subset of B, right? So these two are events, A and B are events, and A is a subset of B. So obviously probability of A will be less than equal to probability of B, right? So that is understandable. Why? Because your this set is smaller as compared to this and contained in this set. So obviously the probability of A will be less than is equal to probability of B. And then we can also have an equality here, something like this. So suppose you have A, in this case your event looks like this, A and B, right? Sorry, B outside, A inside, because A is a subset of B, right? And suppose you have something like this, A here, B here, right? So this portion here is A intersection B, right? So in this case what will be the probability? So we will have probability of A union B. Now you see you have 3 disjoint set. One is this portion, one is this portion, center one, and one is this portion, right? So obviously we can say that probability of A union B is equal to, what you can do is you can just count the probability of this set A, and then you add it to probability of set B, and because this set has been counted twice, so you just subtract it once, right? So this is how we get that probability of A union B is probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B, right? So this is from the Venn diagram itself, it is very clear that this will hold, right? So we can generalize also. So from here you can say that probability of from here you can say that probability of A union B will be actually less than probability of A plus probability of B, right? So there is no condition on A and B if A and B are not disjoint, because when they are disjoint then we have additivity law and we have an equality sign, but when they are not disjoint then we have this property true, right? And then we can also generalize it. You can have three sets. So suppose I have three sets A, B, C, A, B, C, something like this, right? Then what you can do, you can just see that probability of A union B union C will be equal to that will be probability of A. So I have just taken probability of A. This is my A. Then basically I have to cover whole of the area, right? Then the next time I'm taking probability of A complement intersection with B. So basically what is that area? A complement with intersection with B. So that is this area, right? A complement intersection with B. So this area, this whole area, right? So this red portion is your A complement intersection with B, and then I'm taking probability of A complement intersection B complement, right, intersection C. So this area which is left, this little area, this one green I am shading, this is your A intersection A complement intersection B complement, right, intersection C. So this is how you can use, right? And you can also if A, B and C are disjoint, if A, B and C are disjoint, in that case you will be having, you see you have sets like this A, B, C, so they don't have anything in common. Then what will be the probability of A union B union C? So you can use additivity law. You can write it as probability of A union B union C. You can treat it as one set, and this set here and this set here, they are disjoint. So you use additivity once, additivity law once. So what you will get? You will get probability of A plus probability of B union C. Now again you use additivity law. So what you will get? You will get probability of A plus probability of B plus probability of C, right? So that is obvious. When A, B, C are disjoint, in that case you can write like this, right? So also we can see from here that if you have three sets A, B, C, which may not be disjoint, then obviously if you talk about the probability of their union, that will be less than is equal to probability of individual events. So the reason is because they do have something in common, so that part will be subtracted, right? So this is also true. So you should be comfortable with these properties when we will use, because later on we will make calculations and there we may use these properties very frequently, right? Indeed we can have like this, that probability of A1 union A2 union so on union AN, like we can have more than 3 events also, that is less than is equal to sum of the probabilities of individual events, right? So these properties are useful and you have to be comfortable with these properties, and they are very easily explained using Venn diagram. So you can always make a Venn diagram whenever you have a doubt about any of the properties which the probability law uses, right? So there is something I would like to point out. So I'm talking about some noteworthy points. So then we will stop, and in the next videos the real task will begin. We will be talking about conditional probabilities, we will be talking about Bayes law, and there are so many theorems and laws. So from the next video onwards we'll be starting the real stuff, and obviously the basics are also required. So till this video, this is your I think 4th video or 5th video, this is the 5th video. So these 5 videos were very basic, and sometimes we do study these things in school also. but they are actually required for continuing with the course. So that is why I have covered it everything here. So yeah, so some noteworthy points. So let me again tell you that you have an uncertain situation. So picture should be clear in your mind that what we are doing. So you have an uncertain situation, right? So it can be anything. So example is playing a game, right? So or tossing a coin. So many examples I have given you in the first video, right? So you want to look at the, so our interest is computing the likelihoods of different outcomes. Computing the likelihoods of different outcomes. Likelihoods of different outcomes. Right. Okay. So I told you that you will make a mathematical model because we want to bring mathematics into picture. So for mathematical model of an uncertain situation, we call it as probabilistic model. So we need, so this is your model. So it consists of two things I told you, that is your sample space. So this is set of all possible outcomes, set of all possible outcomes. So this we don't have to do anything about it because whenever you have a situation, already this thing is fixed, right? So for this we call it as omega. We don't have to do anything, we just know it, right? So you just know that okay, this is the situation, these are the possible outcomes, right? Okay, so this information is already with us. From here we will just construct set of all events, right? So this is your 2 raised to power these elements, right? So this is basically your power set. So model, the second thing is your probability law, right? So now your probability law is a function from sample space, set of events to okay real numbers. So it should satisfy 3 properties. One is positivity, one is additivity, and one is this normalization, right? So now the main question is that is this like fixed, that how we define probability law in different situations? So answer is no, right? So here we can choose any p as long as it satisfies 3 properties, as long as it satisfies 3 properties, right? So this is the first step. So it means that we don't have any hard and fast rule for choosing our probability law. All we want is like these things should be satisfied. So you must be you must have seen that in some situations we look for accuracy. So here we may look for accuracy, or you want it to be simple. So you may look for simplicity. Simplicity in the sense that calculations are easy and your understanding of the probability law is very easy, right? So there is a trade-off between these two things. So you can go for more complex models which will give you very accurate results, but at the cost of simplicity, right? Then you have to perform more calculations and more complex, computational cost may be included, right? So it's your choice and it depends on situation. Sometimes we are more concerned with accuracy, then we will go for complex models, and sometimes we just want simplicity, we just want our problem to be solved, then we go for simply like simple models instead of accurate models. So this is everywhere in all the numerical analysis thing, that we always have a trade-off between accuracy and simplicity, right? So you can treat it as step 1 of your probability course. So this is your step 1 of your probability course, right? The whole thing from here. So I can treat it as step 1 of our probability course, right? Okay, then the second step is, step 2 is having defined your model. Now you have a model, right? You want to work within a fully specified probabilistic model, and we can derive the probabilities of certain events, or deduce some interesting properties, right? Okay, so whenever you fix the first stage, the second stage is simple. Here we just play with probability laws, a law which we have fixed. We play with probability law, which is, fixed in step 1, which is fixed in step 1 to compute probabilities of complex events, or we can use it for comparisons. So for example, you have two possible events, you want to know which way you should go, something like that, right? So but having fixed the probability law, there is no ambiguity in this step, because we are just doing the calculations. That's it. The calculations may be complex depending on your probability law, but otherwise nothing here is ambiguous, and the only ambiguity part is deciding what is your probability law, right? So I think this picture should be clear in your mind, that this is what we are doing in our whole probability course, right? So now for next few videos we will be doing this thing, right? So we will be defining our probability law, and then we will be doing the calculations. We will be playing with that. We will be manipulating with that probability. We will be manipulating that probability law to compute probabilities of complex events. We will make some comparisons and things like that. So this is the task for our next few videos. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Please share this video and subscribe to this channel, and please you practice your questions from any book you follow, and then you can write your doubts in the comment section, right? I would be happy to help. Thank you.